squirrel ran right up the tree. I mean, he was just
Set up the
close.
laptop.
Oh, I see.
Ready? You're ready? Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We've got the green light from our control room that the TVs are working now, so we can get started, and that's why we had a little pause. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mary O'Connor. Rich DeVore.
Present.
Matt Dill.
Here.
Julie Kay.
Here,
Dan McCarthy.
Present.
Phil Wegley.
Here.
Ed Merson.
Here. After the roll call, our next item on the minutes is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the July 19th, 2018 meeting?
I'll do that. There I go. I so move.
So moved. Second? Discussion? Being no discussion, would the clerk call a roll?
Phil Wegley.
Yes.
Matt Dill.
Yes.
Rich DeVore.
Here.
Julie Kay.
yes.
Dan McCarthy.
Yes.
Ed Merson.
Yes. Okay, the next item is our public hearing on this sign presentation from the Episcopal Church of the Transfiguration. I'd like to open the public meeting now. Lauren, would you like to comment or present the application to the board?
I will do so. Thank you, Chairman. The Episcopal Church of the Transfiguration is requesting special use approval to install 4 new signs, a new primary ground sign, 3 new signs, and relocate 1 existing sign. One would be a primary ground sign that will be located at the intersection of 80th and 123rd.
86th and
86th, thank you. I didn't have the street names on this exhibit, and I'm still getting to know them. There will be another 2 hanging signs that will be mounted on 6x6 posts. The signs are 24 by 30. One sign is located along 123rd Street, and the other is at the intersection of 122nd and 86th. And then the sign to be relocated is along the ramp off of Southwest Highway. These signs are being requested for approval pursuant to Chapter 1480.16 of the Village Code, which provides the ability for the commission to approve signage that is associated with a special use on the property that does not necessarily conform to the code. In this particular case, the zoning ordinance permits a very small sign. The property is zoned R1A, residential with a special use for the church. And in the R1A zone, signs are only permitted to contain a total of 10 square feet, and only 1 sign is permitted. This property is approximately 3.5 acres in size. And I'm just going to go ahead and let Mr. Disney with the church present the actual application, and then following his presentation, I can provide any recommendation and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Hello.
Lauren did a good job of recapping.
Would you
what's going
present,
on.
say your name and address for the record?
Len Disney. My address is 12036 Venetian Way, Orland Park, Illinois.
Okay.
I'm a member of the church since 1984 and chairman of the committee that's handling the sign.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The primary sign at 123rd and 86th Avenue currently is a 4x8 wooden construction, 2-sided, and you don't want to lean on it because you'll make it fall over. So it's just deteriorating from age. We're planning a 5-foot by 10-foot monument style two-sided sign lit in from the interior, LED lights on the interior. The application includes a picture of a depiction of the sign. It has a fixed message portion on top, and then 4 rows of changeable letters on each side. The bottom, the base to it is appears to be brick. It's a foam material. It's a foam cast piece that'll envelop a aluminum base. And the detail on the sign shows that it's suspended on a single, either a 6 or 8 inch diameter steel pole. These hanging signs are a standard, again, the application has a picture of those. They're a standard Episcopal logo sign used all over the country. And they'll just be hung by a bracket mounted to a 6x6 treated wood post. And so there's really nothing very exciting about those. They will not be lit.
Okay.
The sign along the ramp is an existing sign. The sign face for it is actually in very good condition. The lettering is reflective, and so we'd like to reuse that. But the poles that it was originally mounted on have rotted away, and we just need to mount that again on 2 6x6 posts. They'll be mounted in concrete, and we'd like to bring that up as close to the property line as we can. As the picture depicts in the application, it sets back quite a ways, and we'd like to get as much visibility as we can.
This is the one by Southwest Highway?
Yes,
Okay.
It's alongside the ramp
Okay.
as it comes up. I don't know what other detail I can add to it.
Let's see, I have a question. On the main sign, it's lit with LED lights, but all the light is coming through, what do you call it, a lens or a panel?
You're not going to see light bulbs.
Okay, that's my concern.
It'll be a white surface that has 4 rows of changing letters, and so we can slot a message in there. The top row will typically have a fixed message saying Sunday services 8 to 10.
Okay,
There's 2 Sundays a year, we change from that, and we'll slide it out.
but you manually change these letters, it's not an automatic,
It is
illuminate,
not
okay.
a moving message, digitally controlled sign. The changeable letter portions do have a clear left-hand cover with the sort of protection.
okay.
How long will the lights be on?
We were thinking put it on a photo box, so all turned dark.
So all dark light out throughout the evening?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the board?
The sign that's being relocated along the Southwest Highway ramp, looking at the survey here, assuming that that sign is surveyed and on there correctly, only gonna pick up a couple feet, I think, is that accurate?
Okay.
About 4 to 5 feet.
That's about it. There's a big taking there for the road, obviously, so. Okay.
Yeah. The company that did the survey for us is going to now come back out and
Locate it for you.
stake it for us so that we're totally, compliant.
Okay.
I did do, because the primary sign currently is situated into the right-of-way, I did a mock-up of where the new sign will actually fall, if anyone's interested in seeing that. I didn't have this at the time to put it in the application. If you want to pass that along, you can see, as opposed to where the current sign sits, where the new one will be situated.
Is the sign on the Southwest High ramp, is that lit at this
No.
time?
No, ma'am.
Are you going to add lights to it?
If I did, it'd be at a later time, and what we're thinking, we're not gonna trench and provide power down there. It's cost prohibitive. If anything, what we'd do is hang a light on the top and solar power. But it's so wooded down there that we'll get light 6 months out of the year.
My only question, and I'm sure it's a matter of cost, but is if you're going to all of this trouble, and this sign is literally at the heart of our village, I'm just curious as to why you put faux brick instead of real masonry, right?
Bill, could you move your paper away from the mic? Thank you.
Sure, why not? Yep, got it.
Causing a lot of interference. Thank you.
Anyway,
Cost was the major driver. It really looks good. I mean, the manufacturer tells me he had a village come back at him claiming the deviance from the permit that he'd gotten because they did masonry work, and he had to prove to them it wasn't masonry. So the appearance is the same, the cost is less than half, and we're looking at the maintenance, the upkeep on it. So we won't have to be up pointing or worrying about the eventual weight of that going into the ground. If it were ever to get deteriorated to the point where it needs replaced, we can order another one, cut it off, and slap another one back on.
Okay. Do you have any further comments upon it?
I'm new to this process, so you know,
Okay.
I'm not sure what else you expect to hear from me. I tried to make the application pretty complete. Our description, I think, was pretty detailed, and I tried to give you pictorials to everything, so there's no surprises. We're not looking to sneak anything under the line.
Len, we should point out that the faux brick actually matches the building. Because the depiction is kind of a red pinkish, and it matches the church.
Could you just have her provide her name, just so we have her
This
for the
is Kathy
record?
Rattay, longtime member of the parish.
Okay.
And the contractor will actually come and take a high-quality digital picture of our building and send that to the manufacturer of the brick, and they will formulate it to be absolutely similar to what's on the building. So it'll look like it was done at the same time.
Question, Mr. Tay, are you a resident?
Yes, I live across the street from the church, Arlene 8516, West 122nd. I have a question.
Do you want to come up? Okay. If that's all you had to say, I see there's residents or people in the audience. They could come up, identify themselves, and present their thoughts.
Roseanne Bartle, I live at 8516 West 122nd Place in Hills Park. I've lived there for almost 20 years, so been there for a long time. What I don't understand, and I think you said that this is where the existing sign is, but you want to move it? Is it going to be right where the existing sign is, the lit one?
The lit one? It actually,
Here.
if I can. So it's actually going to be 5 feet further toward the parking lot, and it's going to be 40 inches off the ground where this one's 3 feet. So it's slightly larger. where this is 4 foot high. it's 10 foot.
Got it. So, I mean, the lights won't interfere into the house, houses that are on our side, it's totally opposite, right?
No.
That was our concern.
Sure.
The other thing, the hanging signs are just gonna be on the post, hanging, right?
Yes,
On the
ma'am.
corners, right?
Right at the corner at 122nd Place and 86th Avenue. The other one's going to be actually near adjacent to the stop line at the top of the ramp on the front of the property.
And is the height of the hanging sign gonna sit back from the road a little bit, where the wooden sign is currently?
No, there's none there.
Len, could you show her the map? I don't think she has this.
Yeah, this is my depiction of where it's going to be. So it's well back from the pavement.
So
I mean,
there
it's
won't be
going
a
to
big
be,
structure getting around the corner?
oh my, no.
Okay.
No, the right-of-ways are that wide on the road. So, yeah, it's going to be sitting quite a ways back.
Okay. And no lights? Okay.
No lights.
State your thoughts.
Charlie Riley, 12209 South East Inn. I'm directly across the street. I just have concerns that you guys have all these tow signs. Now I'm going to see all these signs. That's the first thing I see on my corner. I also have a disabled son who has a sensory issue. I don't want light shining in my house all the time. Is that, can you assure me that it won't?
Yeah, I mean, if that's,
I mean, I've been here for 20 years.
right. Now, if the lights are nuisance, late at night and things, then that's posing a problem. I'm sure we can go to a timer.
There's really no reason to have it shining all night anyway. I mean, it's like you could turn it off at
It's in the residential.
10 o'clock and turn it on at 7 the next evening, you know?
It's strictly awareness. It's advertising dollars, right? Any sign is. That's what we're
I'm saying,
investing
but
in.
in my house is not.
Correct.
Your assessment doesn't concern me.
Right, right.
So your,
No, we wouldn't
your
want-
existing sign is currently lit, correct?
Yes.
It's been dysfunctional now for about
It has been
over a year.
Okay.
But yes, the current sign was lit, and it was on a photo eye. So, if you remember back to when that was operating, was that an issue at all?
Well, I know when into the Piper's house, that one light that you're going to say in the parking lot was shining directly right into his house.
A security light? Like
Yeah, from the parking lot.
Oh, okay. That wouldn't have been related to the sign.
Right, but I was all
Obviously.
dead, they had design.
Right. We'd be very open that if there's any nuisance that's causing the neighbors, we'll solve the problem.
I just don't know why it needs to be on all night.
I mean, that's the proposal that we got from the sign company. That's the situation that was on the current sign when it was lit. We saw no reason to change at the moment. Here again, if that's a tripping point, we can discuss it again on our committee and see about changing it. But the sign is currently designed to be run off a photo line.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but, I mean, I know I can take out that, but most of it's not on.
Out of respect to you, sir, I understand what you're saying. Personally, I have an issue with the light pollution aspect of it. And I don't know, with that traveled area there, how much revenues you can gain by having it lit all night. Maybe if there was something that we can do in terms of an hourly, when the light would be on, that would be appropriate. Now, obviously, those hours would change because we have more light in the summertime as opposed to our winter months. But just for the sake of the whole corner there, I just don't I don't want to set precedents of having a light on something like that 24 hours a day.
Is the Methodist Church's sign on 123rd, is that lit all night? Do you know?
Sign illuminated? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I know it's lit late at night coming down 123rd, but I don't know whether it's all night.
So it is within the commission's purview to, as part of your recommendation to the village council, to place conditions on the special use approval. And you could recommend that the timing of the illumination of the signage be limited. One thing I could mention is the gas station across the street does have limited hours of operation, and I think at that time they shut their lights down, maybe to coincide with the hours of the gas station across the street.
Down the street.
Down the
Down
street.
the street.
Down
at
the
At
eight.
8th Avenue, yeah.
Yeah.
They pretty
It's-
much, they shut it off when they close.
Recently extended it, I think,
We
to 10
extended it.
PM, but it was
I
a
would guess.
temporary thing, extension. It was a trial period to see how that worked.
But the light level from that gas station is nothing like the sign.
No.
Yeah,
If this is
that's
really,
much different.
it depends on, that's why I asked about the light level from an LED sign, but if it's screened with a translucent panel, it changes everything for me.
You've got the light from the Plush Horse, and you've got, is there a street light? I know there's a red blinking light, but I don't.
There's no street light
There's no street light
here.
at that location?
No.
Okay.
Pretty,
Living on 86th Avenue down the street, my thought is that I would like the sign lit there because I think I find coming up the ramp from Southwest Highway and people on 123rd, and you have to kind of veer over, I think I'd like it better lit at night.
I mean, I see your concern with having the light, but I don't think that we should be able to, we're relying on the light of a church sign.
Well, it just makes it a little brighter.
Yeah.
I don't know how long during the night Plush Horse is lit, and in the wintertime, Is there light-
I pass by it every morning at 5 o'clock.
And it's on.
5:15. It's not on, but there are interior lights. Usually right around that time, there's somebody in a pickup truck that's pulling in. So I don't know if they're going in there and like starting their day.
making the ice cream.
Yeah, making ice cream. But I know that there's somebody pulling in and out of there at around that time, so I know it's not as lit up as it is, summer ice cream goer kind of thing, but, there are lights on inside of it.
The truth is, the only reason we were meeting on this sign is because it's in a residential area. So it seems to me that the extent of the lighting should be controlled by the fact that it's in a residential area. I've been through this with the Presbyterian Church back in the day when we were lighting the parking lot and all that stuff, and this is not a new concern. So, I mean, it seems to me that the decision, if we're going to put controls on it, it should be because of the residential area that it's in. We wouldn't even be meeting on this if it weren't in a residential area, and that's the point. So, why it needs to be on after 10 o'clock at night, I don't know, but I think we have the purview to put restrictions on the time of the lighting, and I think it ought to be, I think we should consider the fact it's in a residential area, because we wouldn't even be meeting on this tonight if it weren't in a residential area. That's the whole point.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having restrictions on that. I'm not going all night. I think my opinion more would be on the amount of, illumination from the sign, just so a little more clarity. That would be my recommendation, that the board fully understands how bright the sign is going to be. I don't know if there's any example or anything like that we could bring in. Just, that would be,
I mean, these are commonly manufactured monument stop sign.
Maybe
It's
the,
not going to be any brighter than any other one you drive by and see everywhere else.
Well, the sign faces are on the face to the west and to the east, not to the north.
Correct.
And it's, yeah, there's lights in the parking lot, or there's lights off the building for the parking
There's
lot,
a
correct?
security light on the pole that
And those operate,
lights up the whole parking lot.
those operate similarly. I mean, the sign is going to be of less nuisance than, not that those are nuisances, but
Right.
have less light pollution than those existing lights providing security.
To tell you the truth, I'm not familiar with what the operation of that light is, if it's on all night. Do you know?
Chairman, I just want
Do
to
you
make
notice
sure
the
that
parking lot security light stay on all night?
all of the people
Art.
that want to speak
Okay.
have had an opportunity to speak.
Okay. Have you folks completed your presentation? Do you want to say anything more on the microphone so we can record it? You're good? Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to come up to the mic?
I'm Charlie's next door neighbor, okay?
Well, I need you up here. Oh, yeah.
No,
they-
actually
no.
come to the mic.
State your name and where you live.
Oh,
We really do.
I'm Wes Bartle, I'm at 8516 West 122nd Place, I'm right across the street from the daycare, actually. Right. So, yeah, so I think we're good with the sign, we don't have any problem with the sign, and it's just the lighting all night, right? So, we shut it down at a reasonable time, I think it's all good.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay. Lauren, do you have any other thoughts?
We're just that staff is recommending approval. You know, the size of the signage is consistent with what it would be allowed on the adjoining properties, given the location, the proposed location of the signage. And it won't obstruct views or be a hazard to the community. Of course, certainly, if the commission wishes to place some conditions on the approval in terms of the timing, that would be within your purview. If you wanted additional information about the lighting levels of the sign, that could be requested of the manufacturer. But I don't know if you would want that to come back to you or just to have that information provided for the council before it moves forward for the council's consideration.
That's what I would do. Yep.
I'm not sure how to do this motion. To approve the motion and then have a second motion just on lighting? Or combine it in one motion?
It can all be in one motion. The motion could be worded to provide language of the condition. And I can assist you in formulating that. So the motion would be subject, either a motion to recommend approval or a motion to recommend denial, subject to a condition that whatever it is that you want the condition to be. Is it with respect to the timing of the light?
Well, can we discuss that a little?
We should close the public hearing.
Okay. Okay, one more question. You'll have to come up. No.
So I just want to understand, is this all this lit, or just this part?
The green
The green, all?
section up there, that's all that.
So I need to do this whole thing.
Correct. The top, the bottom treatment, the top is metal,
Okay,
but this is all that.
okay.
Can you show us what you're saying?
So,
What is all lit?
everything
Len-
is lit.
That's what I thought. Oh, okay, okay. Got it.
The green is lit and the white?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, then do you have further comments, Lynn?
Considering the discussion about timing and all, if you are going to consider imposing a time limitation on it, could I request 11 o'clock as to be included in the motion?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, then I'll close the public hearing and open up the discussion with the panel here, with the board. Any discussion?
What is the timing of lighting generally in the village? Commercial lighting generally in the village?
We don't have restrictions on the timing of commercial lighting.
So what about the Shell station down the street?
They do have limitations on the timing of their operation. And I'm not 100% whether or not they shut their lights down, but I'm guessing they do.
I think it
They do
used
it
to
at
be
9:00.
9 o'clock, but it got extended, I think,
It
to
was
10.
9:30 and it was extended to 10 recently for a 6-month trial period. The ordinance does sunset, and then at some point, if they wanted to stay later, the council has to reconsider that amendment.
Okay.
Anything on the Plush Horse?
Not that I'm aware of,
Anything on the Presbyterian Church?
Not-
Parking lot lights?
not that I'm aware of.
That'd be my
I don't
concern, is
know.
we're creating a unique condition.
Yeah.
Obviously, if residents have a concern, it's something we should consider.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's a sign that's about as close as you can get to one of the busiest streets in the village. And it affronts another commercial property. I'm not looking to offend any residents, obviously, but at the same time, I think we need a good reason to create a special condition just for the sign, if no one else has this restriction.
Say that again.
If no other signs in the village have this restriction that they can't be lit all night, the Presbyterian Church, which is on 123rd, a few blocks away, their sign's fine to be lit all night because there's nothing prohibiting it. I think we should have a good reason, and maybe residents voicing their concern is a good reason, I don't know, but I think we should have a good reason if we're creating a unique situation just for this specific sign. If none of the other signs in the village have this restriction.
Well, I happen to have been on the committee many years ago at the Presbyterian Church when we were putting up a light in the parking lot, and I remember the neighbors were concerned about it, and we had to deal with it.
And
is the-
parking lot light, in my mind anyway, parking lot lights and a sign light and a.
It's a security situation, I agree, I agree.
Yeah.
And this is of less importance, I would say,
Yeah.
than a security light. But is the Presbyterian Church light on all night?
The parking lot light?
I don't think.
No, the,
Signs.
I,
Sign light.
I don't know.
theirs is not illuminated,
They have lights.
they have lights, but
No, it's internally illuminated the same as this one is. I
is it
believe.
really?
Is it?
I don't think so.
You could probably look out the window, but.
Tell how observant we are.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's ground lighting.
Anyway.
In fact, the description that was in the packet, I think said this was external lighting.
Right, but that's.
It's internal lighting, it's not external lighting.
Oh,
This is, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but, again, I want to remind all of us, the only reason we're meeting about this is because it's in a residential zone which requires a special use permit. That's the only reason we're even here. So the residents have to be taken into consideration. I mean, I'm not crazy about this, one way or the other. I don't mean to sound crazy, but that's the only reason we're meeting about it. So we have to take the residents into consideration. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be here. The staff would approve it and it'd be off to the races.
Between the sign and the residence, there's a parking lot, a building, another side yard, you know, it's not, if this was in someone's front yard, I would be very concerned.
I hear you. And again, I don't have a real strong opinion one way or the other.
Okay.
That's the only reason we're here, to consider the residents.
Does the light change color?
No,
Is it dimmable?
no.
It could be.
So why don't we just turn it off at 10 o'clock at night and be done with it?
Well-
I mean, what's the deal? What,
Not me.
so if I could just, sounds like we have a couple differences of opinion. A motion can be made with or without a condition, and to see if that motion passes or fails. Should it fail, then an alternative motion could be presented.
And when I look at that sign, the folks to the north are pretty well shielded from the building. The signs face the east and west, and this is not going to be one of those marquee or signs that message.
Right.
Those are terrible, those are really bright. I know we had trouble at the Shell station, and they're awfully bright, but if this is low-key, but I don't have a number like a lumen factor for this, to say it's got to be under 10 lumens. There's no way to test it or control it. But
We recommend that just for the board then? Just
What's that?
recommend the board look into the lumen? They present.
Chances are it won't be as bright as the plush horse.
Or the car's
When the
headlight.
plush horse lights go off,
right,
the corner's going to be dark, which is Julie's point, or darker, I should say.
I mean, we can recommend more information regarding the lumens, but I don't know that that tells us anything necessarily.
It won't. To a layman, it won't mean anything.
I don't know what 1,000 lumens is versus 50, so.
well, the LEDs, just how do you control it or measure it and enforce
Yeah,
it? I don't know.
It's designed to be read at night.
Right.
What that means, I don't know.
And
Obviously, there's some that are brighter
I'd
than
also,
others.
this is just a personal comment, but, like I've lived in my house 44 years, and the church has been there, and I think they've always been a good neighbor to the community. And with their lighting of their parking lot and everything, I think they've always been sensitive to what fits with Palos Park. And I don't think they would be doing anything that would harm the milieu of Palos. I think it's a nice sign.
Don't disagree with that. However, however, I'm going to say for the last time, the only reason we're even here tonight is because it's in a residential neighborhood, period. That's it. So if we're not going to consider the residences, why are we even here?
Could I make one more final comment?
You're going to have to come back up.
To reopen the public hearing?
No.
Do I have to open it?
He's the petitioner.
Okay.
Hearing all the conversation, I appreciate everyone's comments. And Mrs. Kay, I think you're exactly right. Our parish has changed directives over the years, but we have never changed our willingness and interest in being a good neighbor. We're investing some pretty good sized dollars here. The whole package that we're considering that we proposed here is worth about $20,000. To our size parish, that's a big chunk of change. Any signage is strictly advertising. You're trying to get in or attract somebody that doesn't come there weekly. Right? That's the point. That's why we're spending all that money. And so the hours of operation of the sign, I don't know when the next person open to a suggestion of attending a new church might happen before 10 o'clock or at 3 in the morning. Okay, so that's the purpose of us having a design that shines all night. We are certainly sensitive to the issues of the neighbors. We don't want something that's going to be an annoyance to anybody. If anybody were to if it's approved as the design is proposed, and there's any issues brought up, we would certainly switch it to a timed operation and an agreeable time for shut. But I just want you to know, yes, it's advertising dollars. It's a big cost to us, and we're trying to attract people, and we can't predict what time of day or night that might happen. So if you please consider that in your motion.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Again, repeat, the existing sign is illuminated by floodlights?
Was.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it hasn't operated in over a year.
But it was
It was with
for
a
40
spotlight
years?
on each side.
Okay, that's what I see in the picture here.
Yes, yes. There were issues about why we didn't repair it. I won't bore you with those. But, and as far as the amount of lumens or the brightness of the sign, we're not looking to land airplanes. We are not expecting this to be any brighter than any other monument-style sign you drive by anywhere else. And I understand the difference between being zoned residential and commercial. I'm sensitive to that fact. But the parking lot lights on all night, and that's not a hindrance to anybody. I can't imagine, with the orientation of this sign, as you pointed out, it's facing east and west, that it's going to be any more annoying to anybody than the security light on the parking lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Lauren?
Just a couple points that I didn't hear anybody discuss, the actual distance of the sign to the residential units in proximity is at least 300 feet. I don't have a measure, scale to measure it exactly, but the property line on 86th is 300 feet. And there is some substantial vegetation directly to the north and then also along the west side of 86th Avenue. I don't know whether it's coniferous or deciduous, but I know most of it to the north is largely deciduous. And then, you can place any condition on the approval. So, just thinking outside of the box of a traditional condition is something that where maybe if there was a position to not necessarily restrict the time, but to review the sign again in another 6 months after it's been installed to determine its impact, its actual impact on the neighborhood, and then consider new conditions if
Or
necessary.
or a year,
at that
yeah, that's a
time.
good idea. Good idea.
Okay,
Just a suggestion.
okay.
Just for the record, I've actually personally been involved in a church sign before, more than once. So don't interpret anything any of us are saying as being against your church or the idea or anything else. It's just, again, we have people who live here, that's all.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here.
No offense.
If you were out in the country, it wouldn't matter, wouldn't be here.
Okay, if that's all the discussion, I guess we're at the point where I asked somebody to make a motion.
I think we ought to do something along the line that Lauren suggested,
To reevaluate.
to reevaluate, or to whatever, call it up in a year, or whatever time frame makes sense.
Maybe a year, because then we would have gone through winter, spring, and summer
Yeah,
to see,
right.
in
With no leaves and all leaves.
winter.
So how about if we move to recommend the village council approve the proposed special use for a sign pursuant to chapter, on the property commonly known as 12219 South 86th Avenue in Palos Park, subject to review in 12 months.
To the lighting.
To the light, to the timing of the lighting and the timing and level of the lighting in 1 year.
After installation.
Yeah, 1 year after installation. Does that sound good? You're not good?
I still think that it should be at a timer. I think that, if they're looking at it as a marketing and business decision in the residential area, then it should be treated as such.
But can we consider that in a year? To
Okay,
see
let's-
what,
Let's do the timer first.
Well, then you wouldn't need to look at it in a
then we
year.
wouldn't have to look at it in a year. I say,
Well-
my opinion is,
Well, let me make this motion.
Make a
Okay.
motion
Let's
and we'll
make this
second.
motion. I'm doing this motion, the one that's in the book, on the paper, to be reviewed in 1 year from the date of installation.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, would the clerk call the roll?
Phil Wegley,
Yes.
Julie Kay,
Yes.
Richard Orr,
No.
Matt Dill,
Yes.
Dan McCarthy,
No.
Ed Marson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 2 no.
Okay.
I got one question though. This person, that's actually
Wait,
residential?
wait, well, we've closed already.
I know. I'm just asking a question.
I can
you're-
talk to you after the hearing, after the meeting is over. We don't have much more on the agenda, so just wait a few more minutes.
Well, based on the vote, the motion was carried, 4-2.
And we can express the dissenting opinions.
Well, I'd like to know why, I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot, I care about your opinion, you know.
My opinion is there shouldn't be a restriction. There's no other restrictions on other signs in the village. What makes this one special? I don't know the zoning off the top of my head of the Presbyterian Church or other facilities, but I would guess it's a residential district just based on what it's
Sure it
surrounded
is.
by.
I know the Presbyterian Church is.
So why is this special? It's along a busy street. It's shielded from
One reason,
actual residents.
one reason. They came to us tonight asking to put up a new sign. That's it. If the Presbyterian Church came tonight, we'd have the same conversation.
Perhaps.
Literally, that's the only difference, at least in my mind, that's the only difference.
From a zoning perspective, it being a special use grants the village the authority to place any conditions on the operation of that special use.
But to answer his question, the only reason we're even considering this is because they came and asked for a new sign, that's all. That's all.
Your concern?
My concern is that there are residents here that have expressed a concern about it. And there's not no other residents here say, no, we're good with it. And seeing as we have restrictions on other businesses and other structures in the village, there's no reason why I think that it should change.
Perfectly normal to put restrictions on it, right?
Right.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying that I think that it's consistent.
But the truth is, it sounds like the people who are in closest proximity are here basically saying, sounds okay to us as long as it operates the way they're presenting it, correct?
I guess that with the diligent board, hear from you guys after a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you go to the board, just go to the church.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
Okay.
There's nothing that says that they're going to be illegal about it.
Well,
On now. The only thought we had was if you put the time on when you're installing, it would be a lot cheaper than trying to retrofit after that was just one thought.
well, Lauren, we could pass this information on to the board.
Yep. So we'll prepare a memo
Okay.
for your signature that will convey the recommendation and the dissenting opinions to the board.
Being no other business, the next item was citizens and visitors comment period. Anything else? If not, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Second.
And we're done. All agree?
Right?
Aye. Meeting closed.
Hey, hey.
I don't know properties in town off the top of my head. I don't know. They're all zoned residential.